My name's Beckett and I'm from Adelaide Eternal. I'm here to bring you some tips and tricks for crushing it at Vintage Cube on MODO. I've been crushing it lately. I had a good run last year in 2020, and this year I'm having another good run. We've got 4,200 active players at the moment on Vintage Cube on MODO, and I'm currently 9th with 16 trophies, and there's another week to go, and I've got the whole week off, so I'm looking to really get up there. A lot of people have been asking me for some tips and tricks, so here I've compiled a video with a brief intro into how I look at each pack and then 16 easy tips for you. So my logic when going through pack 1, I want to be identifying my role, so I'm happy to be open-minded, I'm happy to be flexible and change my decision, I'm happy to hedge my bets. By the end of pack 2, pick 1, I want to be pretty confident in what archetype I'm going. I can refine where I'm at. I can cut a color, add a color. If I get a particular combo piece, I might add a combo. But generally speaking, I want to know what I'm doing, and I just want to consolidate. So pack 2, I'm really looking to see what's open and see where I need to refine, what I need to cut, what I need to add. Pack 3, reward time. Pack 3, I'm trying to get absolutely rewarded for choosing the correct archetype. I don't need to worry in pack 3 about trying to make my deck. I don't want to be worrying about, oh, am I going to get enough cards? I know I've got enough cards. I'm trying to get lands. I'm trying to get bombs. I'm trying to get small upgrades on my cards, and I'm trying to crush with sideboard cards as well. Which leads me to my first point. Pick up sideboard cards. People neglect sideboard cards in this format all the time, especially when you've already got a completed deck. Why not pick up a sideboard card? Why not pick up a Lodestone Golem for that Storm player? Why not pick up Emrakul Eon's Torn, so that when your opponent brain freezes you, you can't lose? Why not pick up a land tax or a Relic of Progenitors, or even a transformational sideboard? That's one thing that's unique to Cube. You can actually add as many lands as you want. In Constructed, you can't just have 15 planes in your sideboard. No point. Here, you can add planes and you can completely transform your sideboard, splash another color for certain sideboard cards. You can add lands if your curve increases, and you can take lands away if your curve decreases. Really, really unique to Cube. I highly recommend you play around with lands and definitely pick up some sideboard cards. You can actually have a look at the full list of MODO cards, including changes from last time. So here I'll get it up for you. If you just go into Google and you just Google Vintage Cube list, and then it's the second one here on the Magic site, you can actually get the full entire card list here. It also gives you a good understanding of the of which archetypes are in the cube. Here's a list of the recent changes. So if you play most seasons like I do, it's really cool to see what changes, what are they taking out. Pay close attention to the last 6 cards in each pack. A good way of knowing if you've chosen the correct archetype is if there's something in there for you. So especially in pack 2, if you're getting a whole bunch of stuff that's in your colors or lands in your colors or your archetype, you know you're in the right colors. So keep a look at that. It's the dregs, the stuff people don't want because it's not what they're in. Don't get confused between a color being open and a color combination being open. If you're in green-black and see an Assassin's Trophy late, but you haven't been getting a lot of green lately, that doesn't mean green's open. It means green-black specifically is open. Especially in this example, when there's so many mono-green players picking up your dorks, don't be fooled into overcommitting into green just because you see that trophy. There's a good chance green's not open. This is more for me than a tip, but I like to play solid cards. Cards like Lightning Bolt, which is strong and burn, mid-range control. It's powerful, it's versatile, it's basically always going to be good. I try to avoid picking multicolors too early, and I try to avoid overcommitting with a card like Tinker or Channel that are really powerful and very specific. That being said, that's just a personal play style. I'd never begrudge anyone pack 1, pick 1ing a channel, that's for sure. Make sure you have enough win cons. This is particularly true if you're playing control. Seriously, you can deck yourself out, guys. I'm not kidding. You play a Factor Fiction, you play a Teferi, you play a Jace, you play Khan 4, next thing you know, you're out of cards. This is particularly true if your opponent briberies you and takes your final big win con. Really, really tough stuff. Try adding a Thassa's Oracle in your sideboard if that's happening to you a lot. Speaking of bribery, there's a whole bunch of reasons to play bounce spells in this format. There's so many steal spells. You've got Sour of Temptation, Bribery, Gonti, Dagfaden, Ashiel, Control Magic. most reanimation spells, zealous conscripts. These are just off the top of my head, not to mention all the tokens you can get value out of bouncing. I really recommend cards like Venser, Shaper Savant, and Repeal. They're quite strong in this format. Don't be afraid to pick cards you haven't seen before. Cards like Hellrider are phenomenally strong. They just haven't found a niche in Constructed, but it doesn't mean they aren't good. Generally speaking, if they're in Vintage Cube, they're probably going to be pretty good, so respect them. Pick off-color Moxes. Guys, just because a Mox isn't in your color, pick it up. If all Moxes just read 0 mana, tap for colors, I'd still be first picking them. Gobble them up, trust me. Unless you're at risk of not getting enough cards for your 40 card deck, start looking to get other powerful cards like Dual Lands, Manlands, Caracas, Sheldok Isle, or as I said before, earlier. This brings me into my next point. Pick up lands. All the cards are so good. That's the whole point of Vintage Cube. Everything's good. Don't worry about making a slight improvement and picking a Blade Splicer up over a Brimaz. It's not as important as getting the consistency of your deck and picking up great cards like Caracas that are going to be a huge improvement on a Plains. Don't be too scared of sweepers. There's a lot of sweepers in this format. But as I said earlier, playing hard control is really tough because you lack the consistency of multiple counters and you lack the consistency of win cons. So you find yourself picking up all these juicy proactive bombs even when you're playing control, which doesn't leave you a lot of room for sweepers. Probably going to see a Toxic Deluge in the main and maybe a Damnation at the side at most, but in all honesty, there's not too many sweepers in this format that you're going to play, especially game 1. Keep in mind what you pass. So if you're passing a whole bunch of blue in pack 1, and then you see that A-Call rip in pack 2, I'm not saying don't pick your A-Call, but keep in mind, if you've just passed a whole bunch of blue, and you thought blue was open, but you didn't pick it up, then your opponent's definitely picked up blue, and you're not going to see a Scarab of it in pack 2. So just keep that in mind. This one's another one for me personally, my playstyle. I like to try to play 2 colours. I find if I play 3 colours, I end up skipping out on quality bombs because I'm just trying to keep up with getting all the lands to make my deck consistent enough. Maybe I over-respect consistency, but that's how I like to play. Often I find when I go 3 colours, when the draft is done, I find I could just cut one of the colours anyway, and I end up playing 2 colours. So really try to go for 2 colours. There is an alternate drafting style where pack 1 and pack 2, you just pick up a whole bunch of lands and then you let the chips fall where they may, so to speak, and you just pick up the cards that are in the colours that you've got because you've got such a consistent mana base already. I don't do that personally, but I respect it. Practice all archetypes. I'm sure you're watching this because you want a cheap trick on how to win without putting in as much practice, but practicing all archetypes makes you feel really comfortable when switching to one that's open. For me, I probably don't play Storm enough, and when I know Storm's open, I've got to admit, I don't go into it, but I should practice it. My final tip, if you play Terrastodon, do not hit 3 lands of your opponents. You will lose to Liliana's Triumph, and your opponent's Elephants will win every time. I guarantee it. Thanks heaps for watching, guys. I'll see you at the top tables.